Christina and Alejandra, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you
Hi,
so
thank
much
you
for
for
having us.
having us.
Yes, you all have a very unique and profound story. You guys are the creators of Estes. And Christina, I have to hear, how did this all come to be? But before we say that, Estes is an acronym. What does it mean?
Yes, okay, great question because a lot of people don't usually recognize that. So, Estes actually stands for Every Scar Tells a Story. And that's kind of at the root at why we started the company. To back up a little bit, when I was in my early 20s, I actually went into cardiac arrest and had to have open heart surgery. And I got left with this scar. I don't know if you can see it on screen, but I was super self-conscious about it. And couldn't really find a product that I liked, that felt good using, that actually did anything. And you know, that was just part of like my scar journey. And then fast forward a few years later, Alejandra also had a surgery. She actually had a very different surgery. She had a C-section for the birth of her baby girl. And we were talking right after her C-section, and she was expressing the exact same feelings that I had around my scar, where she was feeling subconscious about it, unhappy with it, uncomfortable. And I went home that night and thought, oh my gosh, I am going to buy her this beautiful, luxurious scar product to help her feel better and hopefully treat her scar so it can look better. And when I went looking for it, it just didn't exist. There was no product that was a skincare product for scars. So essentially, I called her the next day and told her, I was going to buy you this beautiful gift. I can't find it. Would you like to start a company that is a line of skincare products, luxury skincare products developed for women just like us that have scars, so they can help their scars look and feel better? And Estes was born.
Wow. So, Alejandra, starting this business with, people in mind and skincare, not just, removal of scar, but caring for your skin in the process of dimming that scar. How have you felt about being able to transform how people feel about themselves?
Honestly, it's kind of gone way beyond anything I would have expected. When Christina and I started and we wanted to create this product and we hoped that it would make people feel better. And we launched, during the pandemic. So everything was on Instagram basically and the internet. And we started getting DMs from our customers. We couldn't meet anyone in person, but we started getting DMs from our early customers about how, um, a burn victim could smile for the first time in years because our product, scars are very tight and tense, or they can be. And our products gave her skin the flexibility to be able to literally express herself. And women who had just crazy stories about how self-conscious they were after a breast surgery, and how our product not only helped their scars look better, but also made them feel better about it and change their relationship with their scars. And I don't think Christina and I were really expecting that. We were like, hopefully this helps a little bit, but seeing that emotional connection and how really transformative it could be to have a product that um, teaches you to care for your scars, but also helps you change the way you feel about them. That for us, kind of, we were like, oh wow, okay, this thing we can never stop. We have to keep doing this.
Okay, so you guys have backgrounds in beauty and marketing and personal experiences with influencing brands and approaching product development. How have your individual backgrounds helped you create a product and be able to market it to such a wide audience?
Yeah, I'm happy to start, and I might hand it off to Alejandra. But actually, it's funny that you asked this because when I thought, oh, we should create this company, Alejandra, not only was she going to be the recipient of the gift, but she was the first person that came to mind because she has this incredible background in luxury beauty. She worked at L'Oreal, she worked at Chanel. She is an expert marketer, and I could think of absolutely no better partner to partner with when creating this brand and product. Alejandra, if you want to talk a little bit of how we formulated and made sure that the product is luxurious, I'm happy to hand that over.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say honestly, we got very lucky. We're the perfect complement. At the time, I think when Christina pitched me the idea, I remember we are in a restaurant. feel like it was
Yeah.
near Columbus Circle in Manhattan, somewhere.
Yeah.
And she came and she like pitched this idea. And I had worked in mergers and acquisitions in the luxury division at L'Oreal for a while. And when she pitched it to me, I was like, this is a white space. This is wide open. There is literally no brand that I can think of after having spent a few years researching the space that is a luxury skincare brand specifically for scars. And on top of that, especially at the time, the beauty industry, it was becoming more diverse, right? It was including more skin tones with their foundations and talking about different needs and different body types, really trying to become more inclusive and diverse. But scars were still not a part of the conversation at all. So for me, when she pitched it, I was like, why has no one thought of this? This is just such an obvious space that needs to be addressed. So I was on board right away. And then, it kind of just made sense because my whole background has been in luxury. It would have been hard, I think, to try to create a mass brand because of our combined experiences. I don't know that we would have had to get some consultants in to help us figure out the packaging and how do you talk about it from that perspective. But when it came to developing the brand and formulating it, I would say we encountered all the regular challenges and hurdles and setbacks that any entrepreneur does that you hear about, so we reached out to a ton of chemists and laboratories and we got rejected by all of them. It was like, I don't know, 6 to 12 months of just
Yeah.
rejection. No, no, no. They wanted to give us an off the shelf formula and
Hmm.
sprinkle in a few extra ingredients. They were like, oh, I have an anti-aging cream and we can just put some extra vitamin E in there and you'll be fine. We're like, no, that's really not what we want to do. We want to be in the kitchen with you mixing. We want to make something completely new. We want this to have all the sensorial aspects of luxury skincare, but all the benefits of scar care. We want to bring those together. And it was very, very hard. We almost got close to giving up. And then I was like, I had a boss ages ago who works in product development at L'Oreal. Maybe they had a good summer intern. Like maybe there was a college kid that was a great summer intern that would be willing to just like be with us in the lab and actually mix with us. And we got so lucky. And she was like, I can do you one better. There's this amazing chemist who's been with us for decades and he just retired and he might be looking to do some freelance work. And at this point, we were like, we'll take whatever we can get. Maybe he was a chemist for eyeshadow, like we had no idea, but we were like, we'll take it. And then we find out that he's an expert in wound healing and he's received multiple awards in wound healing, which is exactly what we needed. So I feel like, all those rejections and
The
all that
stars
kind of came full
aligned.
circle.
Yeah. That was an amazing moment.
Skincare has evolved so much in our lifetime. It wasn't a focus before. And even as, children, we can remember, I think so many people have the same scar on their knee, especially if you're a millennial. Like we all have like that scar when we fell on some cement and probably just accepted that it's going to be there. So is this a product that's more for newer scars, or is it for scars maybe you've had for years? What's the best use of the product?
That's a great question. So when we first started, we were thinking it was for newer scars. And thanks to this incredible chemist that we work with, he was able to formulate this line of products that actually works on both old scars and new scars. We've seen results on 20, 30-year-old scars after it does take a little bit longer. So where, it would take 2 months on a newer scar to see drastic differences, it takes about 3 to 6 months, depending on the age of your scar. But the difference is remarkable. We've seen scars get flatter, get brighter. Like Alejandra said, the burn scar, actually, that was a 30-year-old scar where she hadn't been able to smile fully for 30 years. And then after a few months of using Estes, her smile just, it grew and she was able to truly express her full smile after her skin softened. So it really works on both old and new scars. And I have to add also body scars and facial scars.
So the scar doesn't have to be a flat scar, it can be a raised scar.
I don't know how many scars you have. I have plenty. A little bit of texture, sometimes they're flat, sometimes into the skin. But we found that our product is really, really effective with many different scars, surgical, accidents, acnes. It can really vary.
The key there is that because our products are used more like a routine and there's an actual very specific application on how you should use them and how you should massage, that's why you can see the texture differences while using the product. If you're using the products consistently and routinely, the textures of the scars will change.
And is this something that works for all complexion types?
Yes.
I feel really lucky. I got to work on the team at Longpom who developed the first shades for women of color when it really became a focus in like 2009. And so I spent a couple of years just looking at foundation shades on darker skin tones. And even though I'm Hispanic, unfortunately, my skin's not that dark. So I really had to like go around and look at it on different people. It became very apparent to me the issues with like ashiness, even with skincare products,
Mhm.
right? So Christine and I, that's been like just a non-negotiable for us. We're like, if there's any way that it's going to leave any ash on any skin tone, that's not what you want. The last thing you want is for your scar to look dry and ashy. It's like absolutely the end. Even if it's effective, if it looks that way, you're not going to use the product, right?
Yeah.
So definitely it should work on all skin tones. That's very important for us.
Okay, so I have to ask you because you use the word ashy. Is that an actual term, or is that something we as people have just made up? You've been working with chemists, so is ashy a real thing, or did we just make that up?
I think what's that like in linguistics where a word gets created by the people and then it gets adopted but it is officially a term now. We use it in the lab. We use it with chemists when we're doing product development. I'm sure there's a more technical way to describe the color effect, but ashy is the word. Everyone knows what it means.
I mean, we all do. We all do. Okay, so like we discussed, we tapped on it a little bit earlier. There's a lot of focus on skincare. We are thinking about how to get rid of our acne blemishes for when we have those pimples, those hormonal ones that we just can't leave alone, and they leave little scars. What do you think is going to be the future of skincare?
Oh, the future of skincare in general. I have to think about that one for a second. Our hope for the future of skincare truly is to see a category of scar care in every beauty retailer. Our dream, our goal since inception has been we don't want Estes to be the only skincare for scars. We want there to be multiple brands that are paying attention to scars, whether it's acne scars, surgical scars, burn scars. Scars deserve skincare the same way the rest of our skin and skin issues deserve care. They should be treated just as like a band-aid quick fix problem. They're parts of our body that are with us forever, and they should be cared for the same way that we care for the other problems or I shouldn't even call them problems, for the other skin issues that we, encounter.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have something to add to that.
Christina, no, Christina said this since the beginning. She's like, the skin on your lips is different than the skin on your cheeks, which is
Mhm.
different than the skin on your under eye. I'm seeing mine right now. Um, and you use different products for those skin types because they're different. And scarred skin is different as well. And so to just acknowledge, number one, that scars exist as an industry instead of just trying to hide them or assume that they're not there, and then give them the care that they need as a category. I definitely think it's hard to get past a certain age, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7, without a scar somewhere on your body. Like if you did, please introduce me to your parents because I want to know how they did that. But I think everyone has a scar, and just like everyone has lips or cheeks or under eyes, and that part of our skin needs to be cared for. So we need a lot of education. The industry in general
Mhm.
needs to start talking about scars more, thinking about scars more. Most people, you ask them about scars and they go blank. They don't even know where to start because anything that is not good or taboo, we don't even talk about it. So there's not even
Yeah.
education around it. So there's a lot to be done. Estes is really, really early, but we hope to be a part of the movement and hopefully help spearhead the movement so that scars are just a regular part of our skin that we're not ashamed of and that we can nourish and treat their best.
Why do you guys think that there hasn't been an emphasis placed on scar care?
I think that goes back to the actual societal stigma around scars. When someone is going to have a surgery, the first thing they ask is it going to leave a scar? And that's associated with a negative feeling. The word scar in general is associated with a negative feeling, which I talk about this often. I don't know why, because if you have a scar, that means that your skin was able to heal. And healing is what everyone wants. That's such a positive thing to heal. I think that if we could just shift that negativity to a positivity, then the skincare industry will start to take note and more people will step up
Yeah.
and want to care for scars. But I think right now it's seen as such a negative thing that you just hide and ignore, that nobody's even trying to treat it in a holistic way.
Okay. And you guys, like you said, you're on the forefront of this movement. If I'm someone and I'm thinking like I really want to make some sort of beauty product, be it scar care or be it skincare, what are some tips that you would give to a budding entrepreneur?
Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Okay, but whew, our first, Alejandra mentioned this, but our first biggest hurdle, and once we got that, things really started to fall into place, was finding a chemist to work with. We were not chemists. That's just not something that we had any experience in. So we needed someone that could help us create the formula. We tried to do it ourselves. We went to some natural food stores and bought ingredients. We bought pure ingredients, tried to make it in the kitchen. It just didn't work for us. So I would say the first step would be to find someone, use whatever network you could find to find someone that knows a bit about chemistry so that you can start to create a product, whether it's a makeup product, a skincare product. That really helps because without the actual product, it's hard to take it anywhere. Even if it's just a tiny batch. Our first batch was tiny. We made it so small, just to see if the product would work and how it felt and if it would sell. That's my advice for the first step. But I don't know, Alejandra, you might have a different piece of advice.
No, I agree. I mean, it totally depends on what you're trying to do, but it's definitely a big undertaking. And it's every step of the way has its challenges. As fun as it is and as exciting as it is to create something from scratch, it is definitely incredibly challenging. And so I think resilience is big. Having friends and cheerleaders that you can lean on for sure. Every time we encountered a hurdle, Christina and I had a few family members and friends that would be like, "What you're doing is awesome. Keep, oh, you just make two more phone calls, and I was like, okay, you're right. Two more phone calls. Let's keep going." So definitely have your support network. You're going to need it.
It also sounds like we need to pay attention in the 11th grade chemistry class too.
It's so
Might not
true.
hurt.
I know. I felt that way. I was like, I wish I knew more about chemistry. But I will say, once we got in touch with our chemist and started working with him, he really introduced us to other people. So then it was easier to manufacture and easier to find um, packaging suppliers. He had a network. So once you find one person with a little bit of a network, it sort of expands the network exponentially as you meet more people. But for us, that person was definitely the chemist.
Okay. So it's multi-layered. So we do need to obviously have someone who is an expert in that area, but also making sure that we have someone who can market our product, making sure that we have someone who can create logos and things like that. So, the chemical part of it is just one portion, one
Yes.
component of, a brand.
Yeah, I,
Yes.
I was going to say the other piece is like any little bit of business knowledge that you have will help you. If you're willing to read some books on just like business 101 books, it'll
Mm-hmm.
probably be beneficial, right? Being able to think about projecting out sales and cost of goods and building a budget and then creating a sales channel, whether that's in person or online or through a retailer, and thinking about pricing. If you're going to sell wholesale, then you really have to think about what your retail price is. So any kind of business experience or acumen or that you've had will definitely help because you're essentially starting a business.
Okay. And where can we find you guys on social media websites?
But yeah, we are on Instagram, Facebook, and then you can go to our website, estesbeauty.com. And then the product is available also at Amazon if you select e-commerce stores, spas, and hotels. Oh, as well as
Great.
doctor's offices.
Ladies, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
so
for
much for
having
having
us.
us, Megan.
This was
It's
really
really a
fun.
pleasure to get to meet you.